Hello and welcome back to a new episode of PHL2007, where we visit the airport at a random evening. The airport is once again getting rather busy, especially with intercontinental traffic going to Europe. But let's see what US Airways and the many other airlines here at the airport today are up to this time. So the airport is really heading into the evening rush hour with lots of intercontinental traffic. However, there is of course still plenty of North American traffic that also needs to be handled. So there's no time for breaks for the airport staff that are working hard to turn around all these aircraft. And one of these aircraft that is about to leave the airport is this -8Q100 of US Airways that today has been deployed on the route between Philadelphia and LaGuardia. As mentioned, the aircraft is right now making its way out of the ramp, but is currently still holding short here, and that is due to this Airbus A321 of US Airways that has just arrived from the airline's other large hub at Charlotte. Later this evening at 7:15, the aircraft will then be heading out to Los Angeles, LAX. Currently in the ramp here is this Airbus A330-300 of US Airways that arrived at 20 minutes to 6 in the afternoon from Paris Charles de Gaulle. After the aircraft was deboarded and offloaded, it has been pulled over here to the ramp, where it will remain until tomorrow morning, when it will be heading back out to Paris Charles de Gaulle with a new load of passengers. And taxiing past the A330 of US Airways is this Airbus A340-600 of Virgin Atlantic that after a few hours stay here at the airport now will be heading back to London Heathrow. However, it does look like the aircraft currently has accumulated about 20 minutes delay, but I'm sure they can catch that up on the way over the big pond. Currently third in line and holding short here of runway 27 right is this Airbus A318 of Mexicana. The aircraft arrived earlier this afternoon and will now be heading back out to Mexico City. Second in line and just in front of the Mexicana we have a 757-200 of American Airlines. The aircraft arrived earlier this afternoon from Dallas, Fort Worth, to where the aircraft will be returning in a few minutes time. And then first in line and about to line up here on runway 27 right is this Airbus A319 of US Airways. The aircraft that arrived earlier this afternoon from Jacksonville will now be heading out to Boston. On its way to the remote stands of Concourse A, we have this ATR-72 of American Airlines that today is flying between Philadelphia and St. Louis. And already in the ramp here at the remote stands of Concourse A, we have the CRJ-900 of Delta Airlines. The aircraft arrived at 11 minutes to 6 in the afternoon from Atlanta and has now about 15 minutes left until its scheduled departure. Next up we have the 737-700 of Southwest Airlines that arrived from Orlando. The aircraft is right now boarding passengers and loading luggage for its next flight out to Pittsburgh, which is scheduled to leave in about 17 minutes time, so the ramp agents are rather busy giving it their best to make sure that the aircraft can leave on time. But the remote stands are far from the only place where staff is working hard to ensure that aircraft can leave on time. For example, here at the stand at the A concourse, where we have the 757-200 of Continental Airlines that half an hour ago arrived from Houston, to where it will be returning in 30 minutes time. So the aircraft is right now slap bang in the middle of its turnaround. Next up we have the 737-400 of Alaska Airlines. The aircraft will be returning out to Seattle, but has only 27 minutes left to complete its turnaround, so also here staff is rather busy to ensure an on-time departure. A little bit more time, but still no reason to relax, has the ground crew that is handling the A319 here of Northwest Airlines that is flying between Philadelphia and Minneapolis. The aircraft is scheduled to leave at 10 minutes to 7 in the evening, but with boarding almost completed and still 20 minutes to go before the aircraft has to leave, it looks like an on-time departure is very much in the cards. Over at the B Concourse, the terminal of US Airways and its Star Alliance partners, we find this Boeing 757-200. The aircraft arrived at 4:15 in the afternoon from Fort Lauderdale and has since been prepared for its flight out to Las Vegas with a scheduled departure in about 18 minutes. It looks like this will also be heading out on time. Next up we have this Airbus A320-200 of the United low-cost subsidiary TED. The aircraft has today been deployed on the route between Denver and Philadelphia. With about half an hour left until its scheduled departure time, there is still plenty of time for this aircraft to go out on time. An aircraft already in pushback is this Airbus A320 of US Airways. The aircraft arrived earlier this afternoon from Denver and will now be heading to the second hub of US Airways, Charlotte, with a few minutes to spare. In the next ramp we find another 757 of US Airways. And also here things look rather busy in the ramp. The aircraft arrived about 20 minutes ago from Cancun and will later this evening go out to Tampa in Florida. And then we find this Embraer ERJ-170 of United Express. The aircraft is today flying between Washington and Philadelphia and has still 7 minutes left until its scheduled departure, which also looks likely to happen on time. So good news all around here. On the other side of B Concourse, where we mostly find wide-body aircraft and intercontinental traffic, we find this Boeing 747-400 of Lufthansa that arrived at 2 o'clock in the afternoon from Frankfurt. Right now, the aircraft is being loaded and prepared for its return flight back to Germany, scheduled at 7:45 in the evening. In the next stand, we find this Airbus A330-200 from US Airways that arrived early this morning from Rome Fiumicino Airport. After a while on a remote stand, the aircraft has been pulled back into the ramp here, where it now will be prepared for its flight out to London Gatwick, leaving at 5 minutes to 9 in the evening. And also the C Concourse, our international terminal here at Philadelphia International Airport, does see its fair share of traffic this evening. For example, with this Airbus A340-600 of Qatar Airways that arrived earlier this afternoon from Doha, to where it of course will be returning with a scheduled departure time set at 22 minutes past 7. And with boarding starting in around 20 minutes time, it does seem rather likely with an on-time departure. Next up we have the flag carrier of the UK, as British Airways has sent one of their 747-400s to Philadelphia today. The aircraft arrived earlier this afternoon from London Heathrow at 10 minutes to 5. The aircraft will now be prepared for its return flight, leaving later this evening back to the British Isles. And then finally we find this Airbus A340-300 of Air France that still has just under 1 hour until its scheduled departure back to Paris Charles de Gaulle. And with that we have reached the end of our tour around the airport grounds. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to support this series, then feel free to leave a like, that would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe, that would be absolutely awesome. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching and see you in the next episode of PHL 2007.